Hey YouTube, I'm Kenneth Ryan.
I'm Lindsay Resop.
And we're back with another exciting episode of Fanfiction Friday, and now you probably are wondering why is the quality weird and what is going on. Well, turns out I forgot my tripod when I came to this recording session, so we're using my laptop as the recording video. So it might be a little laggy at points, it might be really bad, fuzzy.
We'll find out.
Sorry, it looks okay to me, so we're just gonna wing it.
You can see us well enough.
But the good news is it shouldn't cut out every 10 minutes because my camera is weird like that, and I'm trying to figure out why it is, but I think it's just the way it's built.
Probably.
Like, it just times out. Anyways.
Yeah.
So, there shouldn't be a lot of jump cuts, so that's cool. And so, we took a break from Clockwork, and we are reading a different fic called, a one-off called Glad You Came by Aconite, Weapon of Heaven on AO3. The summary is set in the No Escaping Your Love verse, but stands on its own as it's just porn. The boys have been apart after a hard week and celebrate by being back together.
And it's a Merlin/Mordred fic. Ooh.
I don't know who Mordred is.
Mordred's the guy who kills Arthur.
Got it.
So it's AU, and it's like a modern AU type fic. It's not actually in Merlin, so he obviously hasn't killed anyone.
Right.
Hopefully.
Okay, so I guess I will start, because you want to be Mordred?
Sure, I guess.
Isn't that who you said you wanted?
Sure.
Alright, so, Mordred entered Merlin's flat and winced as he shut the door a bit too forcefully. He left his bag on the cabinet to his right and leaned back, closing his eyes only to open them a couple of seconds later when he heard... Oh, I know. When he heard steps approaching him.
This is Merlin.
Hello, love!
No!
Merlin smiled.
No, fuck you, no. You're not doing that.
I know, but it's funny. Fine, I'll do something fun. Hello, love. Merlin smiled as he walked towards him. Mordred tried to smile in return, but it felt more like grimacing, so he gave up and sighed as he closed his eyes again. Long day? Merlin asked as he hugged him. Mordred wrapped his arms around him and squeezed.
I'm not going to do stupid voices because I don't like doing that for, like, the main characters.
I do.
If there's, like, 17 characters, like Clockwork.
Like, Clockwork, we are probably at over 50.
Yeah.
It feels like.
So that, for them, yeah. But, like, for the main characters, like, I don't know.
Oh, it's fun.
No. Long week.
Wow.
I'm going to be very depressed, probably, but,
Want to talk about it? Mordred smiled as he felt Merlin's lips mouth at his ear.
Not really, he said. He turned his head to the side to kiss Merlin properly, and was rewarded with Merlin's tongue on his lips. With a small moan, he opened up and let Merlin lick into his mouth as he reached for the buttons on his coat and tried not to rip them off in his urgency.
4 minutes.
Yep.
We've gone 4 minutes. Not even.
It's porn.
Because we're
it's
cutting.
literally porn without plot.
I know. Getting a little hot, are we? Merlin teased, but Mordred just grunted something incoherent and pressed their lips together again. He shrugged his coat off and Merlin stepped back. Mordred smiled sheepishly. Merlin knew he couldn't feel comfortable throwing his clothes around, so he was letting him go so he could hang his coat on the door. Got it. Wow, I struggled. I don't know why I struggled. The second he turned around to do so, though, Merlin was at his back, untucking his shirt and slipping his hands on Mordred's skin. Mordred laughed. You should have sounded like Squidward. I feel like Mordred and Squidward would be similar voices.
I don't know how to laugh like Squidward.
I don't know either.
Oh, this is me. A little impatient, are we? He said, as he leaned his head back on Merlin's shoulder.
Long week, Merlin offered as an explanation and unbuttoned Mordred's jeans. For a minute, he just caressed his belly. Yikes. And Mordred had to giggle.
Just have his arms around him, just be like, yeah.
Merlin had always had a thing for the narrow... Okay, it's called a treasure trail, but... Let's describe.
Well, some people call it
the
that.
narrow stripe of hair dusted between his navel and the base of his cock. His fucking happy trail. Why the F word? Wow, I just like threw my hand over your face. I was like, what?
Because apparently he doesn't like that term. I don't know.
Ay, 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 ay. More than once he jacked off over him, painted Mordred's belly with his cum, and then slid his fingers through the mass only to moan weakly at the sight. Mordred let out a whimper and bucked up again at the memory of Merlin licking his own cum from Mordred's abdominals. Wanting more of that again, wanting it now.
We should probably move, he said weakly, feeling himself melt into Merlin's embrace.
Must we? Merlin asked, barely moving his lips from Mordred's neck. He slid Mordred's zip down, on his pants.
Yes, he's unbuttoning his pants.
Got it. And reached for his cock, his fingers barely able to rub at the base with his jeans still in place. Never done it in the hallway, he chuckled.
Really?
You mean the Chaos Emeralds? Have you ever seen that?
No.
Obama chuckled. You mean the Chaos Emeralds?
Okay, then.
I'll make you watch it after we
Okay,
finish
sure.
this.
This is still you, isn't it?
Mordred had never been exactly keen on having sex in the hallway, but with Merlin's impatient fingers and his breath hot in Mordred's ear, he found out that he wouldn't really mind. Mordred pushed his jeans down to the middle of his thighs, smirking as with doing so he brushed against Merlin's hardness. Merlin said nothing, just grunted something incomprehensible as he palmed. Every time I see that, I know there's more to it, but I like to imagine they literally just here's the thing, and they just kind of
It's like a...
like they're all, but you know what I'm saying, like they're...
Yeah, just touching with their palm. You're like...
You like that? Is this as good for you as it is for me?
Wax on,
Wax off. Oh my god. Oh, where was I? Palmed.
Palmed Mordred's cock freely.
Palmed Mordred's cock freely and squeezed.
Yeah. Mordred grit between his teeth and braced himself against the door as he fucked up against Merlin's hand. He'd gotten impossibly hard in the matter of seconds.
As he fucked. Do they mean bucked? That'd make more sense to me.
It's kind of interchangeable in some cases that people use.
I guess.
And he wouldn't last long if they kept this up.
It's okay, Merlin said before Mordred got to warn him. Just take off the... Let's just take off the edge for now, yeah? He slipped his fingers under Mordred's boxers. Something about period clothing incorporating...
It's not period clothing.
I know, but just... If it was.
He's wearing jeans!
They had jeans in the 1300s.
Oh, God.
Oh my god, where am I? You've had a long... He stroked down his cock. Hard! Another stroke.
Dick! Mordred cursed at him.
Oh my god! Okay. I was gonna say weak, but yeah, that too. Merlin laughed again and started tugging on Mordred's cock faster. He kept murmuring in Mordred's ear about how much he'd missed him and how he wanted to suck him, and soon Mordred was coming, spilling in Merlin's hand and swearing under his breath.
I'm hungry.
And there was...
My stomach just made a noise.
I know, but you just... With me talking
He's coming,
about...
I'm hungry.
Right? Oh... Honestly, me too, though. Okay.
Quit
Swearing
blocking
under
my
his
light.
breath. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm leaning forward because I have bad eyes. And there was Merlin again, sliding his hand up and smearing cum all over Mordred's belly. Mordred turned back around.
Every time you say belly, it's like, why can't you just say like stomach or something?
Right, I don't, because they want to say belly. I don't know. Mordred turned back around, leaning against the door again, as his knees felt a little too weak to support him. He got a glimpse of Merlin's soft smile before they were kissing again, a bit softer this time, as Mordred felt quite more relaxed now.
Want me to? He started, gesturing at Merlin's crotch, and the hardness tenting his jogging bottoms.
No, Merlin said cheerfully. When Mordred raised his eyebrows at him, he smiled brightly. Told you we were just taking the edge off. You needed it.
Oh, I needed it? Mordred laughed, playing offended. So I was the only one who was eager? You managed this week just fine and didn't miss me at all?
Of course I missed you, but darling, that's just the way of the business. Merlin said, licking one of his fingers and tasting Mordred's cum. His smile widening, he dropped to his knees and did exactly what Mordred had pictured, licked along his lower belly and cleaned it off his cum.
When did this even become a thing?
I picture that as the most blunt statement. Like, when did...
When did this even become a thing?
What?
Mordred had wanted to ask for a long time.
For me or for you? Merlin asked back. Mordred just smiled and buried his fingers in his hair, guiding Merlin's movements as he pressed sucking kisses onto his skin. Want to move this to the bedroom? Merlin asked as he rose to his feet again. We should read a Winnie the Pooh fanfiction. So I can say bedroom?
We can find it.
Oh, bother.
Oh, bother. What did you have in mind?
Want to take care of you, Merlin said between kisses.
Yeah?
A week is a long time, Mordred. I've been thinking about things, planning them even.
Yeah.
Wow, you have so much depth.
Mordred swallowed with some difficulty.
You've had the most depth of any character I've ever seen. Do you trust me? Merlin whispered. Mordred felt arousal wash over him, or maybe ASMR. Could be the same thing. Even after his release, just a couple of minutes ago, he nodded wordlessly and felt himself mimicking Merlin's wide grin.
Page break, kind of.
3 tildes, so...
Yeah. Mordred couldn't see a thing. His eyelashes fluttered uselessly against the softness of the blindfold until he gave up on trying to open his eyes. He let out a sigh, a tiny one. He didn't want Merlin to think that he was hesitating, and relaxed himself as much as he could, given that his arms were stretched and tied up above his head.
Nice.
He tugged on his restraints lightly. He shivered at the memory of Merlin's breath hitching earlier as he pulled the scarf over Mordred's skin, fastening it to the bedpost.
Want me to let you go? Merlin asked softly. Mordred felt him lean over and mouth at his wrists.
No, he replied, too quickly perhaps. No. Merlin chuckled, and a second later, Mordred felt lips on his neck. He moaned quietly, as he rolled his head to the side. Merlin hummed as he sucked a kiss onto Mordred's skin and straddled his thighs properly. Mordred wanted to move, wanted to touch. Yet, when he bucked up and his hips only managed to rise an inch, he relished in the knowledge that he was at Merlin's mercy. He couldn't shift, let alone come, unless Merlin wanted him to, and the thought made Mordred harden again quickly.
Lovely. Merlin murmured in his ear and whimpered along with Mordred as their cocks slid together. He then kissed his neck again, moved down to his collarbones. Period.
Down, I guess.
When he sucked on his nipples, Mordred felt a hand circle his cock loosely, and he moaned appreciatively at the attention.
No, that was too much.
That won't last long, he heard Merlin mutter.
What? Mordred snapped his head up, quite uselessly, as he weren't really able to glare. Wasn't. The answer Merlin gave him was a single lick along the length of his cock.
They're furries.
Mordred whispered, spreading his legs for Merlin. I spread my ass cheeks for Shrek.
He roared a mighty roar and filled
As
my
he
butt
filled my butt with his love.
No. Merlin decided as he licked the crease of Mordred's thigh. Mordred groaned, resigned. He should have known that after taking the edge off, Merlin would take things painfully slow, not just fuck the stress out of him as quickly as possible and cuddle afterwards. No, he would have to make the build-up last an eternity.
Merlin, he grunted when Merlin showed no signs of moving things along soon.
Yeah.
Their conversation is so
dry. He replied, as if he didn't know, as if his lips weren't centimeters away from Mordred's cock.
Centimetres.
Oh, yeah. Mordred tried to say something again, but Merlin slid his tongue over his perineum. I was like, perineum?
Oh,
I, could not read that. And his words emerged into a single strangled moan. What was that? Merlin teased. Mordred just groaned again. He felt his cock throb and wet at the tip. It seemed that Merlin noticed it too. When Mordred felt him move away, he dared hope that Merlin would suck him in. But then his lips were on Mordred's belly again, licking off what had leaked from his cock. Merlin licked the drops of pre-cum.
Yeah.
Is it properly spelled C-U-M or C-O-M-E? Because seeing it C-O-M-E bothers me.
A lot of people use both of them. Either way.
Okay. Licked the drops of pre-cum with satisfied little hums that made Mordred want to scream. Then he felt Merlin's chin nudge against the head of his cock, and Mordred thrust up before he could stop himself, silently begging to be enveloped in the heat of Merlin's mouth again. "Down, boy!" Merlin laughed as he held him down, and Mordred whined. He was hot all over, and his arms ached. He itched to pull Merlin even closer, find some friction for his cock. He bucked up again. "Mordred!" Merlin grunted, and it was like he was scolding Mordred, urging him to behave. Mordred grit out Merlin's name between his teeth and got Merlin's tight grip on his thighs for his attitude. Before he could react, Merlin had pushed his legs up and driven his tongue over Mordred's hole. The puckered entrance concealed within. I'm not over that, and that was over a year ago.
That was a long time ago.
Mordred let out a short moan. Let out a short moan before he bit his lip, and his hips bucked helplessly. "I wanna hear you," he heard Merlin say between licks, and Mordred had to moan. His hands curled into fists as he pulled on his bindings once again. You always get stuck as the characters that are just moaning. "Come on," Merlin moaned himself as his lips and tongue caressed Mordred. Also, if you're wondering why I'm massaging my foot, it's kind of sore. So that's what's happening right here. Mordred whimpered.
You're jacking yourself off underneath the camera view.
Yeah. Mordred whimpered. His face felt too hot, and he knew his cock only needed a touch, and he'd be coming all over himself. There's an himself there.
Yeah.
The bed started dipping and creaking softly as Merlin started rutting against it. He was bringing himself off, yet was still just teasing Mordred. Mordred was pretty sure he would actually die. This happens in every fic.
So dramatic.
I'm gonna actually die if you don't let me finish. If Merlin didn't give it to him soon. Merlin drove his tongue inside of him a couple of blissful seconds. Then his touch disappeared as he let Mordred rest against the sheets again. Mordred let out a confused,
"What?" He could feel Merlin still there. Why wasn't he touching him? Merlin, what? A lick at his cock and a slick touch to his hole. Then nothing again. "Merlin," he moaned, desperate. "Please," he said quietly. "Merlin, please. Please." I'm holding this dog. Like, "Please, Merlin."
I want to die.
That seemed to break Merlin. And Mordred felt a single finger breach him. A hot
Take
mouth
more.
swallow him to the root. He cried out and trembled all over. He didn't know whether to fuck up into Merlin's mouth or down on his finger. So he settled on short thrusts that both gave him pleasure and kept him from getting any relief.
Okay.
Merlin hummed around him and kissed down the shaft of his cock. Mordred felt another finger slide inside of him, and he moaned, clenched around them. For a moment, Merlin's hand stilled, and Mordred felt his hot breath as Merlin swore quietly. "Merlin!" Mordred urged him on for the 100th time, it felt.
"No," Merlin said, and the denial made Mordred want to free himself only to claw against his skin in frustration. "No, I was gonna fuck you, but this will be more fun." It seemed Merlin wasn't even talking to him anymore. "Yeah, you'll make a mess of yourself." He chuckled. He sounded so fucking satisfied with himself. Mordred wanted to shove his cock up his mouth and again to shut him up. Merlin pulled his fingers out, but before Mordred could complain, he heard the oh-so-familiar sound of the cap of the lube bottle being opened.
"Merlin?" Mordred asked tentatively.
"Yes, love," Merlin replied, and Mordred gasped as he felt cold liquid spill down his balls and over his hole.
"What are you doing?" he had to ask. He got a chuckle in reply, and for a few torturous seconds, Merlin completely pulled away from him. Mordred grimaced at the uncomfortable feeling of lube sliding down his body and on the bed, and spared a second thinking about them having to wash the sheets again before he got distracted. He heard the creak of an opening wardrobe door, rummaging through a box. "Oh shit," he whispered. He He felt heat spread down his neck and over his chest as he heard the door close again. Fuck, he said as Merlin settled on the bed again.
Mordred? Merlin asked.
That's a question.
His hand... Mordred? Merlin asked, his hand on Mordred's thigh. Mordred was squirming even more than before. He heard the question in Merlin's simple uttering of his name. He spread his legs in reply. Merlin let out a little moan at that, and Mordred heard him slick the dildo up.
Come on, he said. Come on, Merlin.
Want me to let you go? Merlin asked him again. He still doubted Mordred, doubted himself, didn't want to push either of them too far. Mordred loved him for it, but he wasn't sure he wouldn't just punch Merlin once he found himself free. So he shook his head, and Merlin made an approving little sound before his fingers scooped up the lube from around Mordred's hole and pushed inside, stretching him open and preparing him. Finally, Mordred felt the bluntness of the toy press at him, and he bit his lip, trying to relax himself and let it slide. Can you tell which one it is? Merlin asked, trying to distract him. Mordred huffed. He'd have rolled his eyes at Merlin if he could.
The fucking purple one, he said, trying to move in time with Merlin's shallow thrusts.
It's always been your favorite, Merlin mused, pushing in the rest of it in one go, making Mordred gasp. But it's not the fucking purple one.
No.
No, the purple one doesn't vibrate. Before Mordred could think about what Merlin said, he heard the click of the switch, and a moan got ripped from his throat as he felt the vibrations inside of him.
Interesting.
Easy there, Merlin said as he pulled it out and pushed it back in again, positioning it so it wouldn't bring Mordred off too soon.
Merlin, Mordred whined. He felt just a couple of tugs on his cock before Merlin was straddling his chest. He moaned again as Merlin's thumb brushed over his lips, opening up so Merlin could slide his cock in. They set up a slow rhythm, Merlin fucking up into Mordred's mouth and Mordred down on the dildo. Merlin knew how much Mordred loved it when he talked, so he let himself moan and breathe out obscenities, telling Mordred how good his mouth felt and praising him for being so good for Merlin. Mordred could only moan around him in reply, bucking his hips up and down, trying to fuck himself harder. It caught him by surprise when he actually succeeded. He managed to shift the toy so that it vibrated right against his prostate. His eyes snapped open and he screamed around a mouthful of cock. I'm not screaming. There's too many people in the house.
Yeah.
We could have done this yesterday.
It's fine.
I wouldn't have screamed anyways. But whatever. Bucking and shaking against the waves of pleasure that coated his body. Merlin moved down his torso, and for an agonizing second, Mordred thought he'd remove the dildo, or squeeze his cock, or whatever he had to do to stop Mordred from coming. When he did nothing of the sort, Mordred moaned thankfully, thank you, moaning, I guess, and continued riding the dildo in short, hard thrusts. Short, hard, thrusts, moaning at every touch to his prostate. He managed about a dozen of them before he was coming for the second time that evening, cum sliding down his cock and belly.
Fuck. He heard Merlin whisper. Suddenly the blindfold was ripped from his eyes, and after a few seconds of blinking rapidly and coming down from his high, Mordred could make out the shape of Merlin above him. That's stripping?
Yeah.
Stripping his cock.
Striping?
I don't know. His mouth slack in pleasure. He was inches away from Mordred's face, and he moaned, throwing his head back, trying not to wince at the feeling of the toy still buzzing inside of him. Merlin choked on a moan as he spilled, his cum hitting Mordred's chin and his right cheek. For a few seconds, the slow slide of cum down his neck and the intense vibrations against his prostate were all Mordred could feel. He shivered against the cold when Merlin moved away and pulled the dildo out of him, touching Mordred's oversensitive hole for a second. Mordred winced at that, and Merlin rubbed the inside of his thigh, pressed a kiss on his knee. He then moved up and undid the knot at Mordred's wrists, pulling the scarf away carefully and letting Mordred stretch his arms and rest them over his chest. So beautiful, he murmured as he kissed Mordred. Mordred moaned into it and shifted closer, wrapping his arms around Merlin. Just a second, Merlin promised, and got off the bed. He returned with a wet flannel and helped Mordred... Yeah, I don't...
It's a washcloth.
Helped Mordred
It's a
sit up,
British thing, I guess.
tilting his head carefully and cleaning him off his cum. Okay. He pressed a kiss on his shoulder, biting a little as his hand moved down his belly.
Seriously, when did this become a thing? Mordred asked again, and laughed. Merlin shrugged.
I have no idea, he said as he proceeded, cleaning Mordred up. Do you mind?
No, Mordred said, and nudged against Merlin's cheek, until Merlin turned to him and kissed him again. I like it too.
I know. Merlin pushed him down gently and settled on his chest, pulling the covers over them with a hand. As he dozed off, Mordred felt Merlin's hand rub it at his belly, and he smiled at himself, finding that he truly didn't mind. Not one bit.
That's the end of that.
Wow! A 30-minute episode. I'm so proud of us.
Yeah.
This... Excuse me. This almost never happens. So that was the fic.
With the one-shots, it kind of does.
That was our one-shot
And
fic.
I can find a fic that's the right amount of words, depending on how long our interjections are.
True. I can see your kudos to it right there.
Yeah.
Amazing. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. Oh wait, we gotta talk about this, duh.
Yes, we do.
My brain is
So
everywhere.
what did you think? Did you like it? Did you not like it?
It
Some
was
parts
good
were
for
down
PWP. It was good for that.
Mm.
I was like, alright, I dig it, kind of. There were some instances where I was like, okay, whatever.
there. Some of the
but-
wordings were a little strange.
Yeah. And the spelling
Just like
bothered me, even though it might be right. I don't know, but it bothers me.
Britishisms. I mean, it's a British TV show, so.
True.
So in this
BBC,
case,
starring Anthony Stewart Head as the king.
the asshole.
As Rupert Giles. No matter what show he's in, he's Rupert Giles.
Yeah.
That's every time I see Sarah Michelle Gellar, I'm like, that's Buffy. That's who that is.
Pretty much.
Yeah, no, it was alright. Not the best PWP we read, but not the worst.
That's because you
Definitely
really
not the
liked
worst.
Submit or whatever, whichever one it was.
Still love it.
That
No,
was a good pick.
I've liked other ones too, but like, yeah, this one's not the best.
Yeah, we've read better.
But I like it. It was good. Give it like a
What's wrong with
3.5 out of 5.
You rate everything
Magic
like
wands.
a 3.5 of 5.
I know. I have a system.
And everything ends up pretty much being the same.
I know, because I don't want anyone to feel bad.
Yeah.
What are you gonna give it?
Sure. That works.
Good. So if you guys want to read this fic, it's Glad You Came by, again, Aconite, parentheses, Weapon of
I think
Heaven.
that means that was their last username.
Oh, I don't know.
Like
But
they-
it's just what
like-
it says.
Like they leave it there, like in the parentheses, so that people who are searching for their old
Right.
pen name can find them.
I gotcha. But yeah, you can find that on Archive of Our Own. And yeah, if you liked the video, be sure to give it a like. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we have awesome new content coming out every week. And if you have a fic you want us to read, leave it down below. We will read it on the show. And yeah,
Unless it's really
tune in next
really
week
too much.
when we return
Probably
to
not.
Clockwork again. Yay.
Yay, Clockwork.
We'll see you then with more Clockwork. Until next time, stay awesome, read more smut. Bye.
Bye.